In this video, we are going to continue our discussion of transformations of graphs, and we're going to be focusing on dilations. So we've already talked about what happens when we add or subtract a number on the inside of a graph, or we add or subtract a number on the outside of the graph, and both of those were translations. They are just shifting the location of the graph, but they don't change the size or the shape. So this +3 that's on the inside, you remember when it's on the inside, it's a horizontal movement, left or right. In this case, it's left. And this 3 that's on the outside, this is a translation or a shift of the entire graph up. And that +3 right there is what tells me that it's going to go up. So what we're going to look at in this video is what happens if you have a multiplier. So the 3 that's on the outside here is a multiplier, so it is not going to shift the graph. It's not going to move it or translate it in any way. What it's going to do is change the size of the graph. So that's why we call it a dilation. Just like when you go to the eye doctor and you get your eyes dilated and it changes the size of your pupils, same kind of thing here. It's going to change the size of the graph when I have a multiplier. So let's see what that 3 is going to do. So I have graphed for us here the absolute value of x. This is just the parent graph, y equals absolute value of x. And let's see what effect this 3 is going to have on the graph. Well, basically what's going to happen is it's going to take every y value and it's going to multiply by 3. So if I were to put a 1 right here, absolute value of 1 is 1, and then I multiply that times 3. 1 times 3 is 3. So right here where I had x value of 1 going to a y value of 1, now the x value of 1 is going to go to a y value of 3. And the x value of 2, you see right here, it used to go to a y value of 2, but now 2 times 3 is 6. And the same thing is going to happen on the left-hand side right here. -1 used to go to 1. Now -1 is going to go to 3. -2 used to go to +2. Now -2 is going to go to +6. So when I connect the dots, there I have the right-hand side. And here I have the left-hand side. And you can see that it has quote-unquote shrunk in from what it was before. What's actually happening here, this 3, because it is a number greater than 1, this 3 is giving us a vertical stretch. So it basically takes every point that's on my original graph and it stretches it upwards by a factor of 3. So this one right here that was at +4 is going to shift way up here to +12. It's going to be stretched up from 4 to 12. This is our stretching factor right here. So when this number is bigger than 1, it is a vertical stretch. When I have a graph like this absolute value graph, what that does is it makes it look skinnier. But the reason why it's skinnier is because it's being stretched upward. Now, I realize that both the red graph and the blue graph go up to infinity. I'm not saying that it's any taller actually than it was, more that it's growing more quickly than it was, and it goes up faster. It actually goes up 3 times faster than it did before. Okay, so let's look at what happens when I have this 1/3 right here. I'm back to my original y equals absolute value of x, and this multiplier of 1/3, what that's going to do is it's going to take every value that I would have had for y, and I'm going to multiply that by 1/3. So when I put 1 in here, absolute value of 1 is 1, like we said before, but this time I'm going to multiply it by a factor of 1/3. So right here where I was at 1, 1, now I'm going to be down here at 1, 1/3. All right, and where I was right here at 2, 2, 2 times 1/3 is 2/3. So I'm going to be way down here at 2/3. And then at 3, 3 times 1/3 is 1. That's where my 1 is going to come in. And the same thing is going to happen over here on the left-hand side because you guys remember absolute value makes it positive because it's measuring a distance. So I'll put some dots over there. Now I'm going to connect the dots. So you can see that I still have a vertex. I still have straight lines both to the right and to the left, but this time it's a lot flatter than it was. This 1/3 right here is less than 1, so that's going to be a vertical shrink. It's going to like smash the graph down closer to the origin, smash it down towards the origin, so to speak. So again, these arrows are telling me it's still going up to infinity, just like the red graph was. It's just that it's going up to infinity much more slowly. It's a very gradual steepness there and not nearly as sharp of a steepness as I had right here. All right, let's do another one. Okay, so look at my 2 right here. Is this going to be a vertical stretch or a vertical shrink? Well, 2 is greater than 1, so it's going to be a vertical stretch, which means I'm going to take every point on this red curve, which is the parent graph of x to the third, and I'm going to stretch it by a factor of 2. So I'm going to pull every point on this side up by a factor of 2. And then on the left-hand side, it's like I'm pulling downwards. I'm going to pull every factor of this one by a factor of 2, and that should be connected there in the center. Sometimes it's a little hard to aim on my computer. But what you can see again, like before, it sort of got skinnier than what we had. That red curve, the original x to the third graph, and then the blue one is 2x to the third, stretched by a factor of 2. Okay, so now I've got 1/2. So is this going to be a stretch or a shrink? All right, well, 1/2 is less than 1, so this is going to be a shrink. So what's going to happen is I'm going to smash the graph down towards 0, both from the top and the bottom. So when I smash from the top, it goes like this. It ends up making it wider. And then when I smash from the bottom, I have the same effect, just in the opposite direction. And it's going to be wider that way too. So you can see my original x to the third is this red one. And then the blue one is the 1/2 x to the third. That one has been vertically shrunk by a factor of 1/2. All right, let's look at what happens when I have a trig graph. Okay, so look back in your notes for sine of theta. Do you remember what the amplitude was of sine of theta? Look back in your notes and answer that question. Well, the amplitude is 1. So that means my graph is going up and down 1 unit from the midline. And I can see in this case, the midline is the x-axis. The midline is the line y equals 0. So when I multiply this by 4, when I have a vertical stretch of 4, what's going to happen is the amplitude is going to change by a factor of 4. So let me go to 4 and also -4 on the y-axis. And then what's going to happen is my graph is going to stretch up and down to 4. It's still going to hit the x-axis in the same places that it did before. What's going to change is the amplitude. What's going to change is how far from the midline it goes up. So I'm going to start right here, up to 4 and back down. And on this side, I'll go down to -4. And then on this one, I'll do the opposite. So I'm going to go down to -4 and then up to +4. All right, so the red graph is my original sine of theta. That's my parent graph. And then the blue graph is 4 sine of theta. And you can see that that vertical stretch, when I have a sine graph, that vertical stretch changes the amplitude by that much. All right, let's look at one that is a vertical shrink. So 3/4 is less than 1. So this is going to be a vertical shrink. So I'll put my 1 in my -1 for where the amplitude was before. All right, now instead of going up all the way to 1, this time I'm going to stop a little bit below. I'm going to stop at 3/4. My amplitude is now going to be 3/4 up and down from the midline. But again, my 0 points don't change. I'm not changing hitting the midline or where I'm going to hit the midline. What I'm changing is how high up or down I'm going to go. I'm just changing that amplitude. All right, so there's 1/2. And here's the other half. Okay, so the blue one is 3/4 sine theta. I have changed the amplitude and made the graph quote unquote shorter than it was before. That is a vertical shrink. Okay, so here's tangent. Tangent's a little bit different because tangent, sort of like x to the third, it goes on and on forever in both directions. You can see my asymptotes in there. And then what's going to happen is as I stretch it by a factor of 5, it's still going to go toward the asymptote. It's just that it's going to go upward much quicker. So it's going to hit the asymptote later. So it's going to stretch upward like this. It's sort of going to become skinnier like what we saw before. It's still going to head towards that asymptote. It's just that it's going to head towards the asymptote a little bit higher up when it's going positive and a little bit lower when it's going negative. Again, those should be connected right there. Oops. Let's try that one again. There we go. Okay, so there's the graph of 5 tangent theta. Sorry, those didn't quite connect in the center. That should look like a smooth curve. But 5 tangent theta, still going on and on forever in both directions, still going towards the asymptotes. It's just that it is stretched upward by a factor of 5, which ends up making it skinnier. So it just gets to the asymptote a little bit later. Okay, so the 2/5. Well, 2/5 is less than 1. So I know that's going to be a vertical shrink. So that means that it's going to become fatter, right? It's going to smash toward the origin. But again, I've got those asymptotes right there. I can't cross over the asymptote. Remember, it's undefined at these points. So as I as I shrink, as I smash, that just means I'm going to head toward the asymptote a little bit sooner. It's going to be a little bit wider than what it was before, but it's still not going past that asymptote. It still has to go up next to the asymptote, both as it goes toward the positive and toward the negative infinity. So those zeros should still be the same. It should still be hitting the axis in all those same places. It doesn't change the zero. It just changes how quickly it goes up or down.